Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Hand Me Down Recipes. This is Kathie, and we have Erin from the Speckled Palate with us today. How are you, Erin?
Hey, Kathie, I'm doing well. What about you?
I am so good. I'm so good. And we are going to talk about a couple of things today. The first thing we're going to talk about is your potato chip cookie recipe, which
Right.
is fabulous. So tell us how you came by the recipe, like how it was passed down to you, that kind of
Okay, so my dad's mom, my me mother, was what I called her. This was her recipe. I don't know how she came by it, but it was a recipe that we made every year for the holidays. And my family always, we baked a lot of cookies during the holidays and we would share our favorite cookie recipes with friends and family. That was just always what we did. And the potato chip cookies were one of my favorites because they're salty, but they're sweet. They've got a
thing.
crunch. Like it's a really great combination. And even as a kid, like I was obsessed with them. Um,
They are
that's
good.
where they came from. I guess my mom wrote down a bunch of recipes for my 21st birthday, and she gave me 21 recipes for 21 years, and this
Oh,
was one of them.
how sweet is that?
Isn't
What a
it
great
sweet?
tradition. Yeah,
I
that's
know.
great.
It was a great idea. So I have all these wonderful family recipes that are written down, but I guess the original recipe and as I started like I guess let's see. I started the food blog in 2011,
Mhm.
but as I started kind of playing in the kitchen and tinkering with stuff, I realized I was like these cookies don't taste potato chip enough. So I kind of tinkered with the recipe and I'd like to think that me mother would think that was okay because I
I
added more potato chips.
I'm gonna say she would, because I think that's how our grandmothers who cooked, like,
Mhm.
generations before us, tinkered with everything, right? Like, they didn't
Did.
because I have my grandmother's cookbook. It's the Encyclopedia of Cooking or the Home Cooking or something. It's Meta Gibbons' book. Anyway, it's an old book, right? Like from the 40s and 40s. And she has notes in there, right? Like she in her handwriting in the notes. So like I just think they did what they could with what they had, right? So it was a lot different, obviously. And I would think, I'm guessing, like our potato chip choices is mind-boggling compared to probably what they had, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's fascinating too. There was one year in college where I was like, "I wanna see if I can make this with, like, a low fat or a non-fat potato
Yeah.
chip," which, like,
Which
spoiler
is
alert,
funny, consider the butter in the recipe, but that's okay.
I know, like, yeah, the amount of butter in the recipe is just
Yeah,
mind-boggling,
yeah,
but I was like, "I wanna try this," and they weren't the same, so, like, a good thing to know, like, don't tinker with that, but just
right,
over the years, I feel like my family and I, we, like, crunch up the potato chips and, like, throw them in, and then it's like, "Does it look like enough? Does it feel like enough?"
right.
Maybe it will
Measure with your
sprinkle in.
heart. Measure with your heart, not the measuring cup. I mean, obviously, there are some things you can do that with and some things you can. This is one of those things that you absolutely can. And
Yeah.
I tried it, because we're a household of 2, I've said this before in other recipes, and you had mentioned too, you can have the recipe, and I almost always when I'm testing recipes before I talk to folks, I almost always have them because, again, household of 2.
Exactly.
There's only so much I can have, and it is getting to be the season of the year where there's a lot of baking going on, and I only wanna have so much because 'cause I'm obviously tempted. If it's there, we're gonna eat it.
It's yes, I feel that in my soul. I mean, we're
So
a family of 4, and still, I'm like, I try to if I can cut a recipe in half sometimes for us, I'm like, "We don't need the full thing,"
right.
even though we'd love it.
Right, yeah, and you just eat a little too much of it, and it's just hard. Cookies are hard to stay out of, they just are. I mean, other people probably have the willpower, I don't. So, just gonna be
No, I
really
don't
honest.
either. I'm like, here I am campaigning to, like, be a cookie lady. I'm like, I love cookies so much.
I do too. They're my
Sharing
favorite thing to bake, without a doubt, my favorite thing to bake.
no, mine too. And there are so many fun things that you can do with them.
Right. So,
Just
when I was making the recipe, I used kettle chips because I wanted something, like, really crunchy, right? Like, I used the crunchiest chips I could find in my local store or that I thought would be the crunchiest. Obviously, I haven't tried every
perfect.
single brand, and they were very good. And we did freeze some of the extra, and I think you said in your blog post, "Be really careful about freezing because it can make the chips mushy," which I absolutely believe that that could happen. But my husband's been eating them frozen,
Oh,
completely frozen, so that they don't have the chance to, like, soften up, and he loves it. Like, he just has one in the morning after he walks on the treadmill, he has one
I
with his
love
cup of coffee, and he loves it frozen. So, for anyone who's thinking about it and you wanna freeze some, just eat them cold,
I will
frozen.
make the note on the blog post for that because, like, we don't even reach the point of putting them in the freezer
Right.
because we're all like, "Oh my gosh, they're here," and just are constantly eating them.
Right. And your family, did you guys pretty much only have these at the holidays, or were they kind of like an all year kind of?
It's funny, like, we probably made them other times, but my most vivid memories with this recipe were the holidays.
Yeah.
So, like, I only make them really around the holidays, so I will say, one of my dear friends got married in Portugal, earlier this month, and she was like, "Do you know the one thing that I would like for you to bring?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, what is the one thing you would like for me to bring?" And she was like, "Could you bring me the potato chip cookies?"
How special is
And
that?
I know, it was amazing. So I like, the day that I left, I baked the cookies off, and I baked them for a little bit longer than I normally would, so they would be nice and crunchy and hopefully withstand the airplane, but, like, I packaged them up with a bunch of parchment paper. I'm, like, making this, like, motion because
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah.
the
Yeah. Crunch it up.
shape the parchment paper to go into the thing, but, like, I stuck them in my suitcase and they traveled halfway around the world. So, I have baked them at non-holiday times, but for my family at least, and the most vivid memories with them are the holidays.
That's interesting. That's really great. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, not in the
Oh my
city
god,
itself. Are you from
wait.
there?
Yeah, my mom is from there.
Oh, okay. So when you were saying that about the wedding, in Western Pennsylvania, and I think they do this in certain parts of Ohio too, they have a cookie table at weddings.
Yes, we had a cookie table at my wedding.
Yeah, okay. So I was thinking potato chip cookies would be ideal at a Western Pennsylvania wedding. So when I first moved to Montana, I've been here a long time now, but somebody I worked with was getting married, and I said, "Oh, well, I'll start making some cookies for your cookie table." And she was like, "What? What is it?" And I was like, "Don't." I mean, it just never occurred to me that there weren't cookie tables everywhere, but that isn't something that is done, but it should be
It
for the rare.
should be a thing. No, when we were planning our wedding a long time ago, and, like, I didn't get married in Western Pennsylvania, I got
Yeah,
married in Tennessee,
yeah,
but, like, my mom was like, "You are a cookie table person
yeah.
because of how much you love cookies," and my husband too obviously loves cookies, so we were like, "Well, yeah, we're gonna have a cookie table." So we brought the cookie table to Tennessee, and everyone was like, "What is this? What do you mean?
It's
Bonus
the best part of
desserts?" Like,
weddings.
it was incredible, and we had so many cookies, and the potato chip cookies were on the table.
Right.
So, somebody made
Perfect.
a lot of them. I mean,
That's
but the
fun.
recipe also makes a lot, like, given
It
the fact that
does.
4 sticks of butter.
And it is, and I have a tendency to make big cookies just because I want big cookies, right? Like, if I'm gonna have a big
Mhm.
cookie, but these are really rich, so you could definitely get away with a smaller cookie because they are so rich. There is so much butter between the butter and the oil from the potato chips, and I'm not complaining for the record. They're
Yeah.
incredible. They're really awesome, but they are rich. You really
They
can't
are.
eat a lot in one sitting, and I have a sweet tooth the size of Montana. Even I am like, "No, I can't eat that many of
No.
these in one sitting." They're very rich, so good. And I was thinking, because we used to make chocolate covered pretzels at Christmas time. That was something that we did. So the salty and the sweet, right? I love it. And I was thinking, chocolate chips would probably not be bad in these cookies. It would be different,
Would be
but I
different.
think you could, if you wanted to, I think you could add some chocolate chips
Mhm.
because you
So,
have the
it's funny that you say.
pecans in there. But you have the
Oh, no, like,
pecans.
oh, yeah, the pecans are so good, and they add
Yeah,
a nice.
there.
My kids don't like the pecans, so some years we'll make them without the pecans, and other years we'll make them with.
Hmm.
I personally like them with pecans, but,
Yeah.
like, it is what it is. But there was one year where I made, and it's actually on my site, I made a potato chip cookie, but I added chopped cranberries and a drizzle of dark chocolate.
I'll make sure to grab the link and put those in the show notes for everybody. I'll
Check
go grab
those
it
out
because
too,
I'll be
because
interested because I love cranberries for sure.
it's
Yeah.
such a good combination, but just like the salty and sweet, and these ones are fun to bake for people too because I feel like they're really different.
Yeah.
Like, just at least for me, like, I don't know. I love a salty sweet or a more unique cookie, but, like, whenever I'm going somewhere and people are like, "Will you bring a cookie?" If it's like a, not that anybody's having cookie tables here in Texas, but,
Right.
like, "Would you bring a cookie for an event?" Like,
Right.
I wanna trot out something that's a little bit more unique,
Yeah.
and they can be polarizing, right? Like, my husband doesn't love the amount of powdered sugar on them, so when I bake them and
Oh,
have them here, like, I'll do a lighter dusting for him because he thinks the powdered sugar is too much and really
too
messy,
much.
but, to each their own.
Right, right. I think I did make them with the powdered sugar. I think you could easily get a if you don't want it, you could easily have it without because 'cause they're sweet on their
Mhm.
own, they don't need it, but it is pretty.
It
It's
is.
pretty. So, I
Mm.
I think these would be ideal bake sale cookies too, because they'd be
Yes,
really different, and I think people would pay for them. So if you're doing sort of a bake sale for charity, that kind of thing, I think this would be a great thing.
I agree. Good idea.
Yeah. So bake them for a bake sale. The reason I have bake sale on my mind because there's a pie auction that I'm baking pies for a local
Ooh.
charity. And so like it's on my mind. Bake sales are on my mind. And I noticed there's a lot of them going on right now, towards the holidays, of course. There's
Mhm.
always those kinds of things. And I live in a small town where the little old ladies still bake a lot, right? And so you want to go to the church bake sales and buy their left side. So yeah.
I love that, and I bet
Yeah.
they're all so good.
They are so good, right?
Mhm.
We we went to a pie and plant sale, like, in the spring, and I think we bought a couple of pies. We buy the fruit pies. I mean, they didn't happen to have, like, a chocolate silk or something, but we bought a
Mm,
couple of fruit pies because I was like, "Well, those
mm.
can freeze, right? We can freeze them for
Yeah.
later." And the one we bought and we didn't it said it was, cherry berry, and I was like, "Okay, that'll be good." It was
Mhm.
not just, like it was flathead cherries, which are sweet local cherries, and then huckleberries, which are like wild berries. I mean, it was incredible, and I paid such a small amount of money for what that pie actually was,
That's
for charity,
amazing.
and oh my gosh, my husband and I can't stop talking about it. It was that good.
I hope that that pie is available again next year at that same sale.
I know I will be there because I usually go for the plants, honestly, more
Okay.
than the pies, but we'll do both. It's great.
That's amazing.
That is so great. Alright, and I love knowing about the cookie table. It tickles me to no end when people's family recipes, like, travel the world, right? And, like, I mean, it's not like it doesn't feel like this super, like, old world kind of recipe, but it's something that's special and was loved. And when somebody requests for something that you make at their wedding, that's like it's just I
I
love it.
know. It's so sweet. Well, and it was funny too, like, I brought them to her, and I didn't tell her that I was bringing them because I was like, "I don't know if I can pull this off," and also, like, what if I put them in my suitcase and they're just, like, crumbs?
Right,
And I
right.
was she'll appreciate the thought, like, and it doesn't matter, but,
Mhm.
like, she was like, "I am keeping these for myself. I'm not sharing them with anyone."
Good for her.
Like, we're not putting them out at the wedding, and she, like, just we've laughed so much about it because she was just like, "This is so special because you made it for me and you brought it all this way."
Right,
And, I mean, that's the person who I wanna be, and that's what I wanna do for
right.
my friends, right? Like,
That's so
I wanna
great, yeah.
celebrate you, and
Right, and
if it
bake for you, right?
exactly,
Because
I wanna bake
baking
for you.
is absolutely a love language, yeah,
He is, and if it means, carting these cookies, like, halfway around the world, like, I am happy to do it. But just it tickled me that she was like, "This is the one thing that I want."
right.
Um
And so they traveled well, because I was gonna ask you, 'cause after I made them, I was like, my dad, he loves to eat potato chips, like, when he's watching football, sports, right, kinda thing,
Nice,
and,
yes.
I was like, he would like these cookies," and I was like, "I wonder how well they ship," 'cause I would have to ship them to Pennsylvania. So do you
Okay.
think if I package them well in the box, 'cause they're not super fragile, but they're not
They're not
hardy
super
cookies, like
firm either.
right, right.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was scared about, but if I were to ship them, what I would do is I would almost overbake the cookies to where they're real crisp,
There you go.
um, to where they just are a little bit sturdier because I feel like sometimes I pull them out and they're not necessarily gooey, but they're soft, which
Right.
is great, and that's what you want, but, like, if you're gonna ship them, you want them to be more sturdy, but then you'd have to layer them in and I mean, what I did for the wedding was I put, like, a layer of, like, crumpled up parchment on the bottom, then I put a layer of wax paper and then, like, a single layer of the cookies there together, and then another sheet of
Yeah.
parchment, more cookies in a single layer, and then I crunched up more parchment on top of them, and that seemed to work. I would assume it would ship like that too, because like, I literally put these cookies in my suitcase and was like, "We'll just see what
We'll
happens."
see what happens, right.
Yeah.
My dad wouldn't complain if they arrived broken anyway, but right, because no one's gonna care, right? They're good and they're gonna eat them
Yeah.
probably. I have baked other cookies in my life that have been a little on the fragile side, and I've kinda, like, put them in a bag, like the bags that don't have the plastic zip, like, they call them bread bags, I think. They don't have
Okay.
they're just open at the top, and I
Okay.
will kinda put them in, like, stack them so it's almost like a sleeve,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
wrap it in bubble wrap, and
That
I
could
don't know,
work.
I've had good luck with that, but it is, like, it's a lot of extra work. And
It
sometimes
is.
you're
I
just
mean,
like, but
it's a labor of love to
that's
package
right,
them up and to send them off, but
right.
it's worth giving it a try. And I mean, as my friend Delaney said, is when I handed them to her, I was like, I make no guarantees that like they're fully, firm or whatever. And she was like, they're going to be crumbs in my belly. It doesn't matter.
That's
Like
right.
I will eat the crumbs with a spoon.
That's right, you'll pour it in milk and eat it like cereal.
Exactly. Like it wouldn't be the worst thing.
That's right. That's right.
So
That is really great. Oh, I'm so tickled to hear it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Erin, was because, and I've done this a number of years now, and I think it's because Suzanne from Feast and
yeah,
West?
Susanna, Beast and
Suzanne,
West.
Feast and
Yes.
West. I had met her
Okay.
so many years ago at a food blogging conference in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
More than 10 years ago, maybe 12 or
Okay.
15. It's been a long time. But I'm sure that's how I first got introduced to the Sweetest Season, and I've
That
done it a number of years, and not every year, but I've done it plenty of years. So, and I'm doing it again this year.
so
I tested a
excited.
new recipe that I'm really excited about. My husband was like, "I think these might be the best cookies you've ever made," and I was like, "Okay." And
Okay.
they're a molasses dried apple, I'll tell you that much, and I was surprised. I thought they were gonna be good, but they're even better than I thought that, like, you have ideas, right? As food bloggers, plenty of times you have an idea and it does not work out. Like, it might be okay to eat, but it does not work out like you had planned.
Yeah, it
This
wasn't what
worked
you
out
envisioned.
better. Right, yeah, this worked out better, so I'm super excited about it. But tell us about the Sweetest Season, please.
Okay, so the Sweetest Season is a yearly celebration of butter and sugar and cookies. And I started this back in 2011 when it was like my first year blogging. And I called it Christmas Cookie Week because my family always made Christmas cookies and we made them to share. And I was like, well, I could do that on the internet too, with this little website that I started. So I invited some people who I knew to join in, and I had a couple friends like share cookie recipes too. But that was, like way back in the day when food blogging was very different. Like fast forward to, I guess I met Susanna in 2014, 2015. But in 2015, that was when things really changed and Christmas Cookie Week turned into the Sweetest Season. Susanna came on board to help, and it has just been such a fun event to do every year. Like, I love that it brings people together and it connects people like you and me who,
Mhm.
like, maybe we hadn't had any interactions, but like we have a person we know in common
Right.
and you were brought on board. But just everybody shares a cookie recipe or multiple cookie recipes if they feel up for it. And a couple years back, and I meant to check this and I did not get to it, but
Mhm.
we added a charity component. So we raise money every year for this for Cookies for Kids Cancer, which is an organization that raises money for kids cancer grants and like research and things like that. And they're just doing incredible work. The children's cancer funding is not huge. And
Yeah.
so they raise a lot of funds with bake sales and with, virtual events like ours. And they're doing great works. Like several years ago, Susanna and I were talking about it, and we were like, this feels like a really great organization to like bring into the fold for the Sweetest Season. So we've been working with them now for several years and raising money and baking cookies. And it's just such a joyful thing and such a fun thing to have
Yeah.
every year. Like I know we've said this already, but like we both love cookies.
Right.
And just there's something about cookies this time of year that feels really special. And to be able to share them like in person, but also to be able to share them virtually and
Right.
talk about cookies and to see new things and to see what other people are baking is so much fun.
It
So
is. It really
yeah,
is. I look at almost all of the recipes, probably all of the ones that come out from the Sweetest Season. It doesn't mean I bake every single one because I
that would
don't,
be a hard
obviously. It
task.
would be a hard task. But I
Yeah,
definitely look, and there are definitely ones that I'm like, "Oh, that one I'm definitely gonna try," versus something else, right? Because we all have things that we prefer, right? We might like chocolate more
exactly.
than we like something else, nuts or
Yeah.
spice or whatever. Although it's hard for me to think like I don't think I've ever met a cookie that I don't like.
Right? Yeah, that's a tough task for me to find a cookie that
Yeah,
I am
right.
not gonna say no to a cookie anytime.
Especially a homemade cookie. I might say no to, like, there are certain brands that, like, from the grocery stores or bakeries, like big commercial bakeries, not like a local bakery, but that I'm just like, "No, they're just not my thing." But that's fine. I'm not knocking them, they're just not my thing. A homemade cookie, if someone tells me, like, they made this in their home, I am all over that. Like, "Okay, thank you very much. Can't wait." to eat
I
them.
know, same here. Well, and I love hearing, like, the stories behind the
Mhm.
cookies, why this matters to you, like,
Right,
why you baked it to share, you know?
right.
And that's just a fun piece of it as well, like, it's a connection piece.
Right. And I think especially probably more especially at the holidays than any other time of year, they do tend to be family traditions, right, of some sort or another. One of the things I'm involved in a few local groups, and one of the things we have a signal chat, this one group where we work on food issues in my local area. And
Oh,
we were talking and I was like, one of the things I'd love to do, I didn't get around to having making it happen this year, but some year I would very much like to do like a Christmas, like what is the thing everyone's family makes for Christmas? And then I want to learn how to make it, right? Because we have
oh,
all the different cultural heritages and whatever. Like, what is it that you make? Tell me how you make it, and then give me the recipe, let me sample it, let's do it. And I think that would be so fun. So someday I hope to organize that. But
I
at the
hope
same time, it's hard at the holidays to like for people to want to do something like that also, right? Because
no,
there's so
it
much else
really
to do.
is. I mean, but that would be so special because
Yeah,
so many of these recipes have, like, such deep backstories with every family,
right.
and just it's
It's so
fun
special.
to hear about them, and to be in the kitchen with somebody who, like, makes that recipe too is super special.
Right. It really is. It is there is something when you're it's one thing online, of course, we can learn a lot. Definitely. I learned different techniques and all kinds of things by reading and watching people's videos and reading their blogs and recipes, but there is something about being with someone when they're making their thing. It's
Mhm.
really special. People really light up. You're getting their heart and soul in a way that you probably won't. And food is just a special thing, and anytime you can learn someone's this is why we have hand-me-down recipes. It's just like I wanna know these stories. I don't want them to get lost in our modern culture where look, I'm not knocking it. If you wanna do slice and bake cookies from the grocery store, you go for it. But I
Yeah.
don't wanna lose this other stuff that's really important and special in the name of convenience because sometimes that's not so great.
I agree. Well, and just the effort that goes into a lot of these things, right? Like, we don't have time to do it always, but
Right,
when
we
we
don't.
have time to do it, like, it's even more special. It's even more special to, like, be in the kitchen and be together and to do that, and then
Right.
also, to share it with other people too.
Right, and then what happens is, like you said, it becomes a tradition even for people who aren't in your family. People request it and love it because because it tastes good, yes, but also because of that connection, as you said, to the food and to you. That's why people love it. It's so
No,
good.
it's true. Yeah, it's just like the connection piece of food, just like I love it so much. Like, cause yes, of course I love to eat, but like beyond enjoying eating and beyond enjoying cookies, right? Like it's
Right,
connecting with people and hearing stories and telling stories and passing them along.
right.
It's just the best.
It is, and it's something that we cannot get from AI or internet or anything else or social media. It's really something that has to be done that's like it's just as old as time. Honestly, it's as old as humanity. Maybe not
Right.
as fancy. Maybe they weren't potato chip cookies. It was probably just bone broth. But we have connection to food as long as we have been humans. As long I mean, that's just the way it is. That is how we connect. And so it's a really special thing. And it cannot be replicated in any other way than with food. That's the only way it can be replicated. You just can't do it online. You can't do it in a chat room. No, it has to be real food around a table or
Yeah.
shared around a cookie plate delivered to the mailman. I'm sure your mailman would love it or
Oh my
mailwoman if
yeah,
you gave
she
them
would
these cookies.
I would love that if I passed along cookies to her. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
I should do that this year because I feel like it's always too, and I don't know what you do, but at least for us, like it always feels like a mad dash. And then we're like going out, on Christmas Eve and like delivering cookies to whoever's
Right.
around. But it's so much fun to be able to share stuff. And then we had some friends last year kind of do that for us. And we moved here a couple years ago. So we're still, like
Yeah.
figuring our way out. Or
Yeah.
I didn't say that right, but like we're still finding our way, but
Right.
it's good. But we had some friends of one of my daughters, and she was like, "You remember how they ding dong ditched us last year and left cookies on our doorstep?" But like, it was so sweet. And it was a recipe that they wanted to share with us. And I'm just like,
Right.
I love this and I'm here for all of it.
Right. It's so great. Oh, that's wonderful. All right.
It
Well,
really
thank
is.
you so much. All right. Do you have any other tips about the cookie itself for us before we kind of wrap up?
about the potato chip cookie
Mhm.
specifically. So you can skip the nuts if you don't like the nuts. You can we always use like the wavy potato chips.
Uh-huh.
That was like any like ridged potato chip has been the ones that my family has always used. I haven't noticed a huge difference in like a different type of potato chip.
Mhm.
Just don't use low fat or non-fat potato chips. Those
Yeah.
don't work. Which that was funny that I tried that one time
Was
and
that like
realized
the 1990s though?
it was
I
it
don't
was
know
the
how old you are, so
house.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was I made it at my house, and my roommate and I just kinda looked at each other when we bit into them. And I don't think that she'd ever had one before, but she was like, "These don't taste right." And I was like, "No, no, they don't."
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm obviously older, and so, like, I grew up in and I went to college, like, in the '90s. So,
Mm,
I was just like, that was the whole craze, right? Like, low fat
yes.
everything, and it's just like, "Okay, just stop. Just stop.
Right.
We don't need to do that, because 'Cause you're not supposed to eat potato chips constantly or cookies constantly, so have the full fat version. You'll
Enjoy.
enjoy it more." Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm, like, trying to think of any other tips. I mean, it's just they're pretty straightforward. I like that they're, like,
Yeah.
5 ingredients.
They are really simple. They're not there's nothing complicated at
No.
all about them. Although I will say, on the blog, you had the tip about and I haven't ever done this before, but I loved this tip was to dip the fork in ice water to put
Yes.
the crisscross. Because 'cause I've done other cookies that are really sticky, let's just say
Yeah,
sticky
sticky.
dough, and so and you wanna flatten it before, and I've tried different things, sometimes, dip the fork in sugar or whatever to kinda do, but then that would be extra sweet that you didn't really need with these. So that was a really good tip, so for anyone else, dip it in the ice water and then put it in there.
Good. I'm glad that's what my family has always done, so I
Oh,
guess that was
funny.
what my mother did too, but just, they don't stick, and then, like, this past time when I baked them, I sprinkled bonus pecans on top because I chopped too many pecans,
Oh, sure.
but, you don't have to do that. I guess you could
Right.
sprinkle additional, like, potato chip crumbles on there too,
Right.
but, like, you don't like, I think that's the thing, right? Like, this recipe, like, you wanna get the flour right, you wanna get the butter right, you wanna get the sugar right, but, like, the
Yes.
amount of potato chips, as long as it's, like, kind of in that ballpark,
Right.
is great, and the same with the pecans.
Right. You can't go wrong. It's just gonna make a few more cookies. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
Never
It's
regret.
not a bad situation.
That's right. Great. Well, Erin, tell everybody where they can find you online, please.
Okay, so you can find me on my website at www.thespeckledpalate.com. This
Mhm.
palette is in your mouth, not like a paint palette.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I started that in 2011, and it's one thing that I'm like, if I were to do this again, I would perhaps choose a word that was easier to spell.
I actually wouldn't have thought of it because I guess because I know you're a food blog, but I wouldn't have thought about it the other way, but you're right. That's a good point. Yeah.
Lessons learned, but
Yeah.
we're 14 years into this, so we're not changing it now.
No.
But I'm also on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. You can find me Speckled Palate on those platforms. Same with Pinterest, I think.
Great.
And yeah, so
And
that's where I am.
we'll have actual links to all of the show notes. In my show notes, we'll link to everything specifically so people can just click if they want, including the original recipe. So
That's
great.
perfect.
Great. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much for being here and talking with me about all this.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks.
You're welcome.